As we continue with Southwest Florida Focus, I've got Dan and Jan Stuckey, and they've got a very interesting story about the ARCHway Institute, and I want to talk with them just a little bit about that. I say good morning to you, Dan.
Good morning, Charlie.
And good morning to you, Jan.
Good morning.
It's like the Jan and Dean show, right? This is the Dan and Jan show here. You've got an organization called the ARCHway Institute. Which one of you would like to start talking a little bit about it? Dan, tell me a little bit about what that's all about.
Okay, so it's the ARCHway Institute for Mental Health and Addictive Disorders.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. Our son has an addictive disorder. He got hooked on heroin about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And the good news is he's been 2 years clean, and when he finally hit rock bottom and started to come out, he decided one of his reasons to come out was he wanted to give back to the world, and he had a vision of starting an organization that would raise funds that he could give to all the friends that he saw with heroin addiction and help them to get into recovery programs.
Yeah.
And that's how it all started.
Well, you're working now with the Behavioral Center here also, I guess.
Yep. So what we do is we're an all-volunteer organization. We're based out of St. Louis. And Jan and I recently moved here to Punta Gorda in retirement. We love it here.
Yeah.
But our organization, our volunteers, wherever they live, work with the local communities to raise funds and help recovery centers to get money to the people that need it, that want to be in recovery. So we're working with the Charlotte Behavioral and Health Center here in Punta Gorda.
Jessica Bowles over there.
Yeah, Jessica.
Yeah, great lady. By the way, this is not just a local organization. Are you based in St. Louis? Is that right?
We're based in St. Louis, Missouri, but we've held events in Ohio and now in Florida.
Okay, so you could actually spread out nationwide with this because this is a
nationwide problem.
Yeah, without a doubt. I want to talk with you a little bit about your son's addiction and how he overcame that, because so many people are involved in that and they stay in the closet. They don't want it, or they don't admit that they've got it. How did all of this work? Now, how old was your son when he had this drug addiction problem?
He started in alcohol in high school and college, and then kept expanding and expanding. But I think that the heroin addiction was in his mid-20s.
Mid-20s.
Wow. Wow. Do you have any idea how he got started in that, or for any of the reasons that?
So, based on what he said, is he learned, he had a couple DUIs and learned that he couldn't handle alcohol, but wasn't quite ready to give up the social life, and he started testing other drugs and ended up on heroin. And as he said, it's a horrible thing, because once you get hooked, he was no longer in charge of his life. The drug was in charge of his life.
And coming back down is not an easy event either, I understand. It's got to be
And how it all ended up is we hit rock bottom. I mean, we went through 3 or 4 recovery programs. He did. And it's just as bad for the caregivers as it is for the individual, because everybody does keep it in the closet. We lied to family members. We lied to our company. We lied to everybody trying to protect him to not admit he had a problem.
Yeah, because it's a stigma with society. Drug bust there.
It is, but it's also, he just said he felt it was his own problem, and he thought he needed to try to solve it by himself. And when he finally realized he couldn't do that and that there was support out there, it became easier for him to ask for the help.
Yeah. As parents, did you see any signs, now that you can reflect back, did you see any signs that you might have taken action differently, or would he not accept that at any given time? It's hard to say, I'm sure. But
well, you see the signs afterwards. It started to show up when he lost his second job, and there was a lie about the second job. And to be quite honest, when all of a sudden the money, you couldn't explain where the money was. Yeah. And he always needed money. Yeah. And we found, to be quite honest, things missing in the house. Mm-hmm. So those were the beginning signs.
The reason I wanted to ask you what signs that you would noticed, either while it was going on or as you had mentioned, Dan, after the fact, because people listening now might be able to look at their youngsters and say, or even siblings,
Mm-hmm.
to say, I think something's going on here that isn't quite right. But then again, you tend to dismiss a lot of that as well, I would guess, right?
I did. I just, if I saw any signs of his weight loss, it was like, oh, he's keeps telling me he's stressed at work, and this must be
Yeah.
how it's showing up. And he's just working so hard, and he's just always going and always somewhere.
Yeah. Well, of course, when you said he hit rock bottom, you guys had to go with him. I mean, you had to be really distressed as well. I mean, here your son is really going to pieces, and it is not necessary. It's something that isn't necessary.
It's an honest statement. It was a Thanksgiving. I can't remember the year, but we were at Thanksgiving, and we had the whole family, and we were sure he was going to end up in jail
Yeah.
or worse that weekend. And we hit rock bottom, and Jan and I were having a debate whether we were going to bury John in St. Louis or back in Ohio.
Wow, that was tough.
And then I will tell you, there's always hope, because 7 days later, because he hit rock bottom the same weekend, and we got him to his 4th or 5th recovery program, but this time he went for himself. He didn't, all the other ones he says, I'll go for you guys. And this was the first time he said, I'm going because I need to take care of this. I want to have a different life.
Yeah, the light
Normally
started.
an addict will keep a door open. There's always,
Well, you hope
I'll
so.
go do this for you, but I'm not going to go on.
Yeah, right. Not for me,
Not for
because
me.
I might want to do that again sometime, and now you won't know about it, and et cetera. I guess those things do happen.
So what's also interesting in our story is when John did come up with this vision of creating a business, because, as he said, if we were financially successful, and we were able to help him.
Right.
He saw so many people. He saw people dying. He saw people on the streets who wanted to change their lives, and they just didn't have the money.
Uh-huh.
So he had that vision, and we jumped into it to show support for him and to show his siblings that he wasn't the black sheep of the family,
Yeah.
that we were supporting him.
Well, then, of course, as you say, when he hit bottom, then the light came on.
Yeah.
And how many months after you feel that he was really distressed when he said, I'm going to go for myself? Now, the first time he did that, how long did it take for him to come up with a vision of, hey, I could maybe start a business here and help people?
Very quickly.
Really?
Because in the recovery center that he was in, it was involved a medicine, a shot called Vivitrol, and that will block him from getting high, and it would block him, or help him with the triggers and the cravings.
Yeah.
And you took it once a month. And when he got on that, it was like, he said it just gave him the clarity to think, I want to go this route. And I just see people who need help and don't have that family support, and a need is out there.
Yeah, so this is the beginning then, is what you're saying, is the ARCHway Institute, I gather?
Yeah, so we've been, he's been 2 years clean, and the ARCHway is about 2 years, 2 years old or 2 years young. So we're really getting started, but a funny thing happened on the way. We did it to support John, and as you said, this is the closet conversation. And the other family that we did this with, he actually runs a recovery center, and he said, Dan, this problem won't get solved until people are willing to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, if you guys want to start this foundation, you'll have to go on radio, TV, tell your story, which we've done. We've done in St. Louis, we've done in Ohio, now we're doing it with you. And people come out of the woodwork. We did it for our son, but now privately, we get 3 or 4 families a week who will call us and say, we need help. We're in the same situation. They just need a shoulder to cry on, or they need some advice of who maybe to go see.
Yeah, yeah.
It's everywhere.
Well, let's talk again out to St. Louis for just a couple of seconds here. When he started, tell us about the development of this of the ARCHway Institute with John, and how John worked that out.
Well, a friend of his was in a coffee business and had offered John to help him sell this coffee. And one of the things was he went into the recovery center and was asking, can you put my coffee in your lobby or in your employee lounge? And whatever I make on this, I want to donate back to the recovery center because you've been there for me. And that's when this other family came to him a couple weeks later and said, hey, we see a bigger vision for what you're trying to do. We've been trying to get together with somebody to try to start something like this. And so then in the next 3 months, we were able to work with that family, the Menzies, and register for
And it was interesting. It was fun to see because John went online. He looked up all the ways, all the forms you had to fill out, the organizational chart and all of that. And he basically did all the initial organizing to get us started. We ended up, needing a lawyer to help us through it all, but he put the majority of the work together to get this thing off and running. And probably 6 months into his recovery program, we became an official business in Missouri, and then it took us another 12 months to become a 501c3 nonprofit.
Okay, so you are a nonprofit organization now.
Got it last July, and that's why we really haven't done any fundraising until this fall and winter, is because we really needed to wait till we became a certified nonprofit organization.
I want to talk a little bit more about John. Then I want to come back and talk with you about your affiliation here with the Behavioral Center, and also a fundraiser that you're going to be doing in March, which is going to be a golf tournament, I understand, right? It's just amazing to me that it's so tough to get off of either drugs or alcohol, especially alcohol. I could understand because I do pop one every once in a while, and sometimes maybe a little bit too much. But my thought is always, oh, no, I'm okay, and I'm sure this is where it goes. I'm okay. I'll just slow down a little bit. I can handle that. And then all of a sudden the urge comes on, and you don't break the habit, and you continue on and on. And I guess hard drugs is probably even more difficult than alcohol. But each one is tough.
Each one is tough. I mean, it's an addiction. And
it is.
You don't have the control.
And we would have been the naive parents, or without seeing our son go through this journey of, why don't people that have a drug problem just say, I'm going to stop? It's not that easy.
Yeah.
They are truly not in control of their life. The drugs are running their life. They're changing how their brain thinks, and they can't say no unless they have a proper treatment program, an AA therapy, support group, as well as therapists and medical help to get through it.
Now, here in Punta Gorda, how are you as a group going to be working with the Behavioral Center, and the funds? Where will the funds go that you raise?
So in our golf outing, right now we are donating 50% of all proceeds to profits. Yeah, the profits after expenses to the Charlotte Behavioral Health Center, with the designation that they give it to an individual or individuals that want to be in a recovery program but don't have the financial means to do it.
Mm-hmm. What happens to the other 50%?
So the other half, and we're an all-volunteer group in St. Louis, we are still paying some initial startup cost of liability insurance and things like that, but that's not much money. The rest of it we're using to start up other outings in other cities or across the country. And we're also using it to bring awareness and education material. We really have two goals. We want to try to help change the stigma associated. So we're doing a lot of education, awareness, talking to groups to try and change the stigma associated with these disorders. And then the second one is to raise funds to help individuals. So there's two goals.
It's a worthy cause with Charlotte Behavioral Center there, because you're saying, I want this money to go help an individual that really wants to help him or herself.
Mm-hmm.
And I gather until that individual or any individual decides that he or she has to do it, that it doesn't happen. And without guidance, without tremendous guidance.
Yeah. And so many times they've already lost the support of their friends and family due to their addiction and what they've closed them off also.
And we do want to stay with the local communities, because it's those organizations that are close enough to the individuals. They know who needs the help. They know who needs the money, and they can get, and it needs to be at a timely manner.
Yes, indeed. Now, the golf tournament's coming up. I want to have you folks back again a week or two before the golf tournament so that we can really promote it on. But coming along in March, tell us a little bit about that. What is the date that you have selected? Where are which golf course and what's involved
so it's
there?
the morning of March 14th. It's at the Twin Isles Country Club here in Punta Gorda. It registration's 7 to 8 with a shotgun tee time of 8:15. And one of the things we found when we start in each community is we're new in town. So having the contacts to the golfer community and all of that, the first year is always we can always use help.
Yep.
We've also found though this community, the businesses in town are been wonderful when giving gift certificates, very supportive. We couldn't ask for more.
About the golf tournament, do you need a foursome? Will you need a foursome to play? You're not going to take individuals, but we have to.
Oh no, we'll take individuals and we will put them on teams, and we will take foursomes, we'll take twosomes, and we help place them with folks. And the other thing about the outing, it's a non-alcoholic event. We think it's not an appropriate thing to raise money for these addictive issues, and
Setting.
it's just the setting.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's very interesting, and when we do have you back, we'll have more information about the golf tournament, probably more information about your progress as we go along here with Charlotte behavioral people over there, who, by the way, do a great job here, and I'm sure you will. It's called the ARCHway Institute, and you can get more information by going to the ARCHwayInstitute.org. Is that correct?
That's correct.
They can get any kind of information about that. And even if you don't think that anyone in your family or anybody that you know has a problem, you might want to know more about the ARCHway Institute working with the Charlotte behavioral folks. I want to thank you so much, Dan Stuckey and Jan Stuckey, for stopping by. We look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.